Hi, and welcome to the Same 24 Hours podcast. I'm Meredith Atwood, author of the book, The Year of No Nonsense. I'm a former attorney turned writer, speaker, and Ironman triathlete. Although right now, all I really like to do is lift weights. We all have the same 24 hours, but it's what we do in those hours that leads to our greatest health, happiness, and success. It's my goal to crack the code on a life of less nonsense so we can all make the most of our 24 hours. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Same 24 Hours podcast. I am your host, Meredith Atwood. Very, very special guest today. Dave Coulier is here. Hi, Dave.
Hi, do we say good morning, good evening? When is this airing? Is it live?
You're the boss.
That's it? Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. That's right. That's right. So I don't really know that I've ever had a guest who is quite as relevant as you. And what I mean by that is like my friends know who you are and my children know who you are. So that's really cool. Congratulations for being so relevant.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm generationally diverse, I guess. Maybe that's the gift that Full House and Fuller House has given me.
I mean, could you have ever imagined your life like when you were funny as a kid and you're like, oh, I'm funny, maybe this will get me somewhere? I mean, could you have imagined you would end up here?
No, because I was the annoying kid because I could do impressions of all my teachers and all my hockey coaches and baseball coaches. So, it's funny because I called them sound effects, but people always said, oh, those noises you used to do. I was like, no, they were sound effects. Right. Or I hear teachers that just hated my guts that, come to my stand-up shows and they'll go, you were the funniest kid I always knew. And I used to have to stay after class. You hated my guts. Well,
You're like, you lie. Lies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when did you know you were funny? I mean, you say that everyone thought you were the annoying kid, but you thought you were funny. So when do you have a moment where you thought, hey, I'm actually funny. This is real?
I come from a very large family, very large Catholic family. My dad had 7 brothers and 2 sisters, and they were all funny. And so whenever we had a family gathering, the adults would all sit together and they would talk about who was on the Tonight Show or the Ed Sullivan Show. My Uncle Dick thought he was Rodney Dangerfield, so he used to wear a fake tie and do Rodney Dangerfield jokes. So I always wanted to sit at that table with the adults because they were just doing one-liners and telling jokes. And they were all funny, every single one of them. And they would just sit around and laugh. And so as a kid, that was kind of my model, was, ooh, I want to sit at the adult table and make jokes. But when I really started realizing that I was funny, I was a hockey player my whole life, from 8 years old on. And when you're sitting in that dressing room, you've got 20 people sitting around putting their gear on and their tire and their skates and getting ready. So it was kind of like having a captive audience. I would just start, throwing little zingers or doing an impression of the coach, and some of the kids would laugh. And then when they started asking me to do it again, I knew I was onto something. But that was kind of my mechanism, was to hear laughter because my parents got divorced when I was 9. And so, growing up in a Catholic community and I was the only divorced parents' kid, I would make jokes about it. And I would say, my mom and dad split up and my dad's not even dating anyone. That was my joke, and I thought it was a funny joke when I was a little kid, but it was my way of coping. And it was my way of, I was no longer hearing those laughs at home. And so I created laughter. And I didn't really realize that until many, many years later on. And I started thinking about why I wanted to be a professional funny person. And that was a big part of it.
A professional funny person. That's great. Tell me about stand-up, because there is something in me that wants to desperately get on a stage and and try it just once. And then there's part of me that thinks that could be the worst possible thing I ever do. Because I think I'm funny sometimes. And when I was practicing law, my secretary said, well, when you guys have kids, those kids are going to be so funny because you're so funny. I was like, I am funny. And so I'm like, maybe I should try and be funny. But the thought of standing there with my hard work and putting it out there and saying, I hope this is funny. Like, how did you do that? What is your thoughts about stand-up now?
Stand up for me was always kind of my own therapy. And it was, I still to this day, I have these funny thoughts and funny jokes that I process. And I think, ooh, I've got to tell that joke to someone. I hear from so many people. I have a friend who, is in my softball league. This guy is so funny. He should be doing stand up. And I said, well, can he be funny on Friday and Saturday night at 8 and 10:30 for an hour when people are paying $35 to see him? And after that opening act goes on, he or she has to follow them and do an hour of rip roaring funny. That's the difference. It's one thing to be funny, but to do it professionally, it's terrifying because you're only as good as your last show. You're only as good as your last laugh. And you have to prove every single thing you say. It's not like a musician where they're going to always clap at the end of that song. They're not always going to laugh at the end of every joke. So it's a real, it's something that you never conquer stand up. Stand up is always conquering you. And it's tough. It's hard to do it live. I've never sugarcoated it. I've always said this is a really hard thing to do. For me, I'm nervous until I get to that microphone. And then when I get at that microphone, everything seems to just kind of, all the clouds disappear and the world opens up and it's a ray of sunshine. And I can't wait to feel like I'm the funniest person, the fastest mind in this room for the next hour and a half. So it's a really simple little thing for me to process in my brain, but my brain's got cartoons whirring around it 24 hours a day.
Do you have a favorite memory from stand-up? Like, was there a show that you started out and you were like, oh my God, I'm dying up here, and you turned it around? Or is there just one that comes to mind that's a good one to remember?
Sure, there's tons of those. When you're first starting out, you've got to play a bunch of different venues. You're on new talent nights, or you're in the disco, or you're opening for, whatever. So I have plenty of those. I have plenty of those bomb nights, or plenty of those nights where it didn't quite go off as I planned it. And that's another thing about stand-up. You can never assume anything because it can change on a dime. And so I have lots of those moments. There was a time when my best friend, Mark Sandrowski, Mark and I are from the same town, St. Clair Shores, Michigan. And Mark directed The Big Bang Theory. He directed all 12 seasons. And so he and I, we were partners in crime. And so he would open for me locally here in Detroit when I was first starting out. And so one night, my mom and my grandmother decide they're going to surprise me and come and go to, they're going to come to the show, to the Comedy Castle here in Detroit. And they sit in the front row. And so I don't know it. My friend Mark doesn't know it. So Mark had this bit where he used to do this character, Mark Suave, and he would unbutton his shirt and he would pull his tit out. He would pull his nipple out. And he would show it to a lady in the front row and he'd go, I know what you're looking at. And so he's up there and I realize, oh my God, that's my mom and my grandma in the front row. And Mark is sticking his tit in their face. And so that was like, and my grandma, I remember, just had the biggest smile on her face. I thought, how can my grandma think that's funny? I obviously don't know her.
Who are you, Grandma?
Yeah. So, I have so many moments where, it was just terrifying. And then there's other moments where it was the most amazing feeling in the world, where Robin Williams came up to me. I was 20 years old at the Comedy Store at the original room in Hollywood. And he was the biggest comedy star on the planet. And I had one of those sets where, I had never seen anybody get a standing ovation. And then I got one night. And he came up to me after the show and he's like, whoa, what the F was that? Holy crap, that was wonderful. And I'd never met him. And I sat and talked with him for about 45 minutes.
Wow.
We went to the bar next to we went to this little table next to the bar at the Comedy Store. And we sat down, and for 45 minutes, he just told me how great I was going to be. And I thought, this guy does not have to do this right now. And it was one of those key moments in my career at 20 years old where I thought, I'm on the right track. It's really hard. You're not making any money, but you're a doorman here at the Comedy Store. But you're doing sets and you're killing, and just stay on this course.
And that intuition that told you that, I mean, how strong has your intuition been? And does it still serve you? Or sometimes are you like, oh my gosh, my intuition is so far off and I'm glad I learned that lesson now instead of later? Like, how good are you at listening to your gut?
That's all you have. That's really all I have, I should say, is listening to that inner voice and just trusting it. And when I go against it is usually a mistake. I'll make career decisions, and just if something doesn't feel right, I'm usually, pretty in tune with, okay, I think this might be great. But it's terrifying. I don't know where my next job's coming from. I to this day, I don't know. I'm launching this media company in February, and I don't know what's going to happen. I honestly don't, but I believe something big's going to happen. And so that's how I kind of feel about every project, though. I feel like, wow, this is going to be huge. But you're looking at one of the biggest failures ever. I have failed my way to success. I really have.
I love that.
But I've never been afraid of those failures. It's like, well, hey, that one didn't work, but I got 5 more over here that could work. And so that's just always the way I've processed things through my career is, yeah, I've made some mistakes, and but I've failed my way to success. I really have. And, I could go on with story after story of things that I didn't get, but there's that one little sliver like Full House where, ooh, I got that one.
How did that happen? Does everyone know that story?
Well,
I don't know the story, but
I was a stand-up, and I had done some acting roles. I was a guest star on Newhart and Family Ties, and I was in a Cheech and Chong movie, and I had hosted a series on Nickelodeon called Out of Control, and I had been a Tonight Show comedian. I was on the Tonight Show doing stand-up, and I had done all these wonderful things. I had done a lot of cartoon voices and worked with all my cartoon voiceover heroes like Mel Blanc and Dawes Butler. And so I had all these wonderful things going on. And then I started to kind of make a real impression on people in Hollywood. And Saturday Night Live came calling. And so I went to NBC and I did my screen test, and I had a really funny screen test, and they hired me. Lorne Michaels called my manager, Brad Gray, and he said, it's going to be great having Dave with us in New York this season as a featured player. And I thought, oh man, this is amazing. I'm going to New York to be on SNL. Well, a week before I was supposed to leave, Lorne decided it wasn't going to work. So I had already told everybody in my life, I'm on Saturday Night Live. I'm going. I've already, I'm looking for apartments in New York, and I've already given notice at my apartment. And I told everybody. And then I get this call and it was like thud. Oh no, I've got to call all these people back and tell them I'm not going to New York.
At least this was before social media, right? You didn't have to like hide your Instagram stories and
very true. But I did hide for a while. I was really down about that. And then about a month later, I get this script called Full House.
oh my gosh.
And had I gone to New York and been on SNL, I would have never had the chance to audition for Full House. And there would have been no me playing Joey Gladstone. In fact, there wouldn't have been a Joey Gladstone character because I named my own character. And Jeff Franklin said, I got to name your character. And I said, what if his name's Joey Gladstone? And he goes, that's really funny.
You just thought of that right then?
And he kept it. I just thought Gladstone was kind of like, he's a comedian, so he's glad, but, you know, stoners, you know, are going to love him. You know, oh, Gladstone, you know, and that was my idea. And I threw it out and it made him laugh. And Jeff said, yeah, that's a keeper. So none of that would have happened. And it was one of those, you know, it was one of those be careful what you wish for stories.
Yeah. Well, I read that there were something like 192 episodes of Full House.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That is staggering. At any point, are you like, okay, this is enough? Like, I got to get out of this house.
No, I was the one. Between me and John Stamos and Bob Saget, and we're the three of us are like brothers. I mean, we just talked 2 days ago. We FaceTimed each other. We adore each other, but we fight like brothers. And we, you know, we have known each other for so long. I met Bob when I was 18 years old, way before Full House. So we were already stand-up friends. And so those guys had really had enough. In the 8th season, they were both like, this is ridiculous. And you might hear the garbage truck backing up in front of my house here. So if
as long as he doesn't come through the wall, we'll be okay.
That's
Although that
true.
would be funny. It might make me like go viral for once.
It'd be like a Full House episode. So those guys were really done. They really wanted to move on. And I kept saying, you know, guys, you never leave a successful show. You never even throw that out into the ether. You know, you just let's go for as long as we can, because these are the good old days, and we're never going to top this. We're never going to find something that's going to be this big in culture and in television and in Americana. We're never going to top this. You know, we're in the top 10 of shows. We've got 24 million viewers every week on ABC. We're in syndication. We're never going to top this. But those guys were really, I think, frustrated with playing Danny and Jesse. And for me, I was like, you know, I could do this for the next 10 years. That's how much fun I'm having. And those guys, we talked about that the other day. They mentioned it again. They said, you know, you loved being there and we were just ready to be out, you know? And I said, well, yeah. What? There's nothing wrong with being the star of a big, huge network TV show. It's the best job in the world. You come in, you get, you know, you make some people laugh. You work for 5 days.
Snacks. I bet there were snacks.
There was, yes. I mean, if you look at me in those old episodes, you could tell I was around craft service a lot. So it was the greatest job ever. And then to be able to reprise that character and come back and do Fuller House was like, you know, the gift of gifts.
Yes. Well, I know you have to go shortly, so I want to make sure we talk about this media company. You made mention a few minutes ago. So let's talk about Grilled Cheese Media and what's coming.
Well, I have so much history behind me of animation. You know, people probably don't know that I've done so many different animated voices. I worked with Jim Henson on the Muppet Babies. I was 5 characters. I was Animal and Bunsen Honeydew and the 2 old men in the balcony, Waldorf and Statler. Yeah, yep, that was me. Yep. And then we added a new character, Bean Bunny, and then I was Peter Venkman on The Real Ghostbusters. And, you know, I go back to Scooby-Doo, which was my first voiceover job. And so, you know, I've got to work with all of these amazing people, and we collected Emmys along the way. And, and I've been a part of these amazing animated shows and family entertainment. And so I thought, wow, I've got all these movies that I've written. I've got all these shows that I've created. I have all these ideas. And so I started working with an animator by the name of Bob Harper. And we started pooling all of our ideas together, and we realized we're thinking the exact same thing. Let's build tons of content in the family entertainment space, because for me, that's been my entire career. It's been, Nickelodeon and ABC and Full House and Fuller House and, cartoons. And I thought, wow, I have a lot of ideas that could really, be amazing for kids and families to watch. So the whole concept of Grilled Cheese Media is, it's basically taking the Full House brand and sensibility and applying that to all of this new content. Full House and Fuller House had a real heart, and kids were at the heart of the message, and they were always at the heart of every show. And I hear Jim Henson's voice in my head, and I hear notes from ABC, and I hear notes from Warner Brothers, and I've collected all of those thoughts over the years. And I thought, I should be producing this stuff. I should be producing a lot of content, because I think my sensibilities and understanding of that family demographic and that dynamic is right on the pulse of where we need to be right now. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So Grilled Cheese Media is going to launch in February, and I'm so excited about all of this content I've created. My head's going to explode if I don't start producing this stuff. And so that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. And then you also, your wife has a clothing company called Cut It Out Wear. And so what can people find there?
Joey Gladstone silly stuff, Mr. Woodchuck shirts. There's a woodchuck shirt where it says "Got Wood," or is that made of wood? And then we have silly shirts, like there's a bra and a boob showing, and the bra is slipped off, and it says "Wardrobe Malfunction" on it. There's shirts that say, "When I don't grow up, I want to be Joey Gladstone." There's Cut It Out shirts, there's Cut It Out hats, hoodies, sweatshirts. And it's just, I started selling them a long time ago at my stand-up shows, and it was such a resounding success. I couldn't bring enough of them with me on the road. So I started shipping them to myself on the road, and they would sell out. And I thought, wow, people really love this stuff. So my wife said, I'm going to bring all that stuff back. And I said, okay, but it's yours. You do it. you design it, you manage it. So she's killing with it. And it's wonderful to hear the responses from people about these products. And I've got ideas to do funny underpants.
Underpants are always a good sell.
Yeah. So I want to do Funderpants. Fun Funderpants, and just put funny sayings on them, for the guys, it would be like on the front, you'd put like objects may appear larger, stuff like that. Right. But everybody wears underpants. I mean, most people. So, unless you're going commando, but, I thought, what could be better or more personal than funny underpants?
That's awesome. I love it. Well, Dave, thank you so much for your time. I wish you the best of luck with Grilled Cheese Media. And yeah, it was an honor. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure speaking with you.